Welcome to Cross the Tracks, the podcast whose mission is to highlight the artists behind the best new releases from both the hottest new talent as well as some of the biggest black music artists. Regular visitors of the WBSS website and our social media platforms will know that as well as our daily recognition of yesterday's and today's black music heroes, we are always on the lookout for exceptional emerging talent. New artists who exude such obvious potential that it would be a crime for them to be ignored. One such musician would be this episode's featured artist. Born in Oregon, this singer-songwriter first came onto our musical radar in the late summer of 2019 with her single Black Coffee. Indeed, her smooth, velvety tones and insightful, polished lyrics immediately take you to a cooler, more peaceful time and place, pre-COVID, if you can remember that far back, leaving you with that warm feeling that only really the best soulful music can give you. The young lady's name, Nyah Grace, and she's with us by the wonders of Zoom now to chat about her new debut album entitled Honey Coloured, her journey so far, and hopefully honour us with a live performance. Hi Nyah, I've got to say straight from the jump off that your music sounds so mature. Is it true that you were discovered when you were just 13?
I think I was 14.
Okay.
I might have been 13. I might have been just kind of on the cusp of turning 14.
Okay.
Yeah, when it all kind of went down. Yeah.
Okay. So born in Oregon?
Born in Oregon, born and raised. Simple Oregon life, rural Oregon. Kind of nothing crazy, not the city.
What were your sort of influences as far as were there family musical influences which sort of led you down this crazy musical road?
Yeah, well, none of my immediate family were kind of ever really into music. My mom did force all of her kids to do piano lessons, but that was kind of it. But all of us kind of hated it. And then I think when I was 6, I was just obsessed with Disney Channel stars or whatever. And I just asked my mom, I was like, hey, can I get singing lessons? Just because I wanted to be a pop star or something. And that's kind of how I just got into singing. But I do have actually an aunt, my dad's aunt, who is a background singer and was a background singer for most of her life. And she was in Chic and she did a bunch of stuff. So that's my closest, musical connection. And I like to think that I kind of got some of my style from her biologically, but yeah.
So what kind of stuff were you listening to, before you got into music yourself?
You
mentioned Disney, but what else kind of influenced you around back in the day?
To be honest, I was pretty a normal young girl where I listened to a bunch of pop music. And then when I was 13, I went to a jazz camp. And the jazz instructor, you were kind of placed into different bands, and the jazz instructor had me sing Billie Holiday's version of It Had to Be You. And then I was kind of introduced into Billie Holiday, and then I kind of just completely switched up my style and just kind of went down a rabbit hole and kind of fell in love with Norah Jones, Corinne Bailey Rae. So I was pretty much a typical young girl listening to pop stuff, and then I kind of just shifted and really fell in love with jazz and neo soul, and then I started listening to D'Angelo, and so it was kind of a big switch.
So how you find it? Oregon based, now in London.
Yeah.
Why London? What dragged you over to London side?
To be honest, it was so when I was 14, I was kind of discovered by my now manager. And he basically said to me, I think your style would really suit London, and I think you'd really fit it well. So I went for a 2-week trip with my mom when I was 15, and I did a few gigs and I did a few sessions and everything. And that was kind of just transformative for me. And I just instantly fell in love with it. And I kind of just decided that I just wanted to live there and do my music there and everything. And so I've been coming and going from here and back home for about 4 years now. And just honestly fell in love with it. I was so thankful that he dragged me out there, basically, because I was really hesitant because, of course, me and my whole family were well, why not LA? Why not, domestically? Yeah. But he was just I really think your music will be received well. It's smaller. It's easier to, get around. It'll be easier for you to gig. And it was just the best decision. I just fell in love with it. And
that's what you found as well. Apart from 2020, I guess, with COVID, and that's kind of, how have you found that sort of change in your plans as far as promotion, music, and just living your life is concerned for 2020? How's it affected you?
It has been pretty tough, to be honest, because I released my album kind of in the height of the pandemic, I guess.
I know.
Yeah. So that was a big decision, tough decision, because I was thinking of, maybe pushing it back. But of course, I was thinking of pushing it back to September, but we were in the same situation in September. So yeah, it was a really tough one. But it is kind of tough not being able to gig as far as my promotion and stuff, because I think that's what I really thrive on and stuff. So yeah, it's been hard. You kind of just have to adapt and become more social media focused and kind of get better with like networking and yeah, but it's hard. I really miss gigging, and I really miss I had a lot of that stuff planned for this year, but next year hopefully.
No, I can understand that. I mean, you mentioned your background wasn't that musical apart from an aunt. You said who was in Chic. I like the way you dropped that one in. Can you remember when you first wrote your first song? Bear in mind, sorry to interrupt you, but you're 18 now. You're 18 now, yeah? So that means that so I'm trying to gauge this. So when did you first write, what would you say is your first complete song?
Okay, I think I was 11. And I say that because that's when I started playing piano and singing at the same time. And I don't like remember exactly the first song that I wrote, but it's kind of like a general guess because I feel like I've been writing them my whole life. And one time when we were moving, me and my family were moving and we were gathering all our stuff and stuff, I found like an old songwriting book from when I was like 7, but it was just lyrics and stuff, really bad ones. So I think, maybe I was starting to write pretty young, just kind of writing a bunch of lyrics and singing them in my head. And then I think when I started playing piano at around 11, that's when I started writing like full, complete songs that I could sing and perform and mess around with.
I don't know what the hell you've been waiting for. I can see the look in your eyes. Oh, I don't feel the need for us to take it slow. It kills me, but it's simply divine. Sooner or later, you'll have.
What about your first performance? And how old was you then?
Oh, my first performance was a disaster, actually. I was 7. Yeah. Well, my first actual performance or
Let's say your first performance in front of family, because normally it's family and friends first, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I think one time I sang, there's a video of me and my sister singing The Climb by Miley Cyrus at Christmas. And it was really embarrassing because I'm shushing her and stuff. I was so rude because I was such a diva. I was in quieter or something. I was awful. But then I also did talent shows growing up. And there was one talent show that I did, the first one that I did, I sang Part of Your World and I had a whole mermaid costume and I was about 7. And my song ended up skipping in the middle of my performance and I freaked out and just cried off stage and ran to my mom's arms. It was awful. It was horrendous. But
and I can tell by your face, you're still remembering this now, aren't you?
Yes, it is traumatizing. It is ingrained in your brain. If you have one, it's so, I can't believe I was able to get on stage again.
And then what about your first live performance for a paying audience, when people actually paid to come along to see you? Can you remember when that was?
It was in London when my very first trip out when I was 15, which is kind of crazy because it was I've been on stage before, but honestly a bunch of local stuff and not a gig where people had come to see me or was supporting someone. So that was kind of a huge jolt. And then the first one that I did was at the Bedford.
I know the Bedford well.
Yeah,
a huge pub in South London. Yeah.
Yeah. I played there a bunch of times. I was just there in late September.
Okay.
Yeah, I did one of my last gigs there. Yeah.
Which September 2020?
Yeah.
So that was one of those socially distanced audiences. Yeah.
I mean, it was nice because it was just table seating. Everyone had to sit down, but it was pretty. It felt pretty normal for a while, and then obviously everything went straight into shutdown. So.
Oh yeah, I remember that. We had that short interlude
where
things were relatively normal, even though people were still sitting almost 3 meters, 3 yards away from each other.
Yeah.
Oh dear, I know things are kind of changed. We have a new normal now. I think that's the way to look at it, a new normal. So tell me about the album, Honey Coloured. I mean, let me first say it. When you first came onto my radar. With a track called Black Coffee. It's around the time of August 2019, August, September. And I remember hearing this voice and I thought, wow, this woman can write lyrics. Not only can she write lyrics, but there's something really enticing and, thought-provoking about your voice. And I thought, wow, okay. Let me make a note of this. And I remember putting it onto the social media platforms at WBSS because I really wanted people to hear this. And then bit by bit, you've grown and grown. And so much. And I've kept an eye on what's been going on. And even if you look back on the WBSS website, you'll see that we've been gently promoting your stuff as it's been coming out. And I was thinking, and I was even more surprised when I only learned literally within the last couple of weeks, your age. Because I just assumed, rightly or wrongly, and I don't mean to patronise you, that you were in your early 30s or something.
Really?
I honestly thought, yes,
Wow.
I really did. So when I saw the age, I thought, no, this can't be right. Then I thought, I must ask you. I mean, did you write any of the songs on the new album yourself?
Yeah. So I mean, the majority
13 tracks, yeah.
Yeah, 13 tracks. One I wrote completely on my own. The majority were kind of like mostly me doing lyrics and melody, and then the producer would kind of help with chords and stuff and some little lyrics here and there and stuff. So kind of majority on my own, but kind of a collaboration between me and 2 other producers that did, half of the songs,
Hey, Sunday, I want to wake up with him on Sunday. I long for the feeling of somebody, the warmth of the sun against my body. Oh, I want to wake up with you on Sunday and dance with the devil like it's nothing, and sing with the angels.
And what about your songwriting influences? Where would you say they came from?
Well, I feel like as a songwriter and kind of as a lyricist, I'm one of those people who really cares about how a word will sound and how it kind of I think like in my brain I somehow think there's just like pretty words that sing really pretty and kind of flow, and I'm really particular about like how words flow, not so much as like about their meaning, I guess, if that makes sense. And I've always loved Corinne Bailey Rae. I've always just loved like her stylistic songwriting kind of thing. I also love Norah Jones. But I just kind of love how words sound, if that makes sense.
I understand that. Yeah. And your vocal influences, you touched on some before. You mentioned obviously Corinne Bailey Rae and Norah Jones.
She's a huge one.
What about when you were 13? I can't believe those 2 were influencing you then.
I mean, right around then is when I started to listen to them, to be honest.
Okay.
Before that, probably some pop singer, I wish I could remember, but yeah.
No, it's cool. So when you're sitting down to write, you play keyboards?
Yeah.
So when you sit down to write, what comes first, the lyrics or the music at the moment?
Always the chords. I've always started with chords. Yeah. I've been trying to push myself into like just writing lyrics when I'm like on the bus or something, or walking or doing something random, just kind of like putting thoughts out there. And then sometimes I'll use those later, just kind of to get my mind moving. But if I'm sitting down and thinking to myself, I really want to write a song right now, I'll just always kind of start with the chords. Right.
And then literally you make the lyrics fit, or is it maybe you've got prose written down somewhere else and you think, let me see if these 2 will go together?
To be honest, I put down the chords and then I'll focus on the melody and just kind of let whatever words that are in my brain come out. And usually if you like record that and voice memo it starts to make sense. I feel like subconsciously there's ideas in my head about things that are going on, or like stress that I have, or a situation that happened. And that's always what I mean to sing, but I'm not always like consciously doing that. So yeah, that's kind of a process.
Wow. I was listening to the album today, just refreshing myself really. And obviously I listened to Honey Coloured. I've got some favourite tracks on the album. There's a track there called I Just Wish You Had Called Me.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm going to ask, how old were you when you wrote that track?
16, I think. Yeah. I wrote it with Steve, Chris and Thao, yeah.
So that was you wrote that along with some other songwriters as well. That wasn't purely written by yourself.
It was me and a producer.
Every now and again.
Because I looked at the lyrics and I thought, how could a 15 or 16-year-old write these lyrics? I was listening to it and thought, wow, this is so cool. And then I listened to the way you interlaced harmonies and the way everything worked together, and I thought, this is such mature music that I listened to the whole album with a question mark over my head after I did. It was really interesting. And I hope that people who are listening to this podcast will think, listen, I've really got to check this album out, because it might be I don't want it to be one of those sleepers of 2020, which goes by, and a lot of people who love soul music and love real singing and real harmonies, real melodies, miss out on it. which is why I really wanted you to be on this on the podcast, just for us to have a chat, really, and just touch base and see if you were real or not. And yes, you are. I can say to the listeners that even though we're not in the same room as each other, we're talking to each other by Zoom. So as much as, unfortunately for you guys, you can only hear her voice, I can actually see her face. So she's real. That's real. Now, are you sitting in front of your piano there as well?
I'm in front of my guitar.
Oh.
Yeah, I have a weird piano set up at the moment, but yeah, I do have my guitar.
So which would you say you major in, your guitar or keyboards?
It's so tough because I mainly 99% of the time I'm gigging with my guitar. Whether I'm playing with a band or just acoustically, I always do like 7 guitar songs and maybe 2 piano songs or 1 piano song, weirdly enough. But I love writing on the piano more, I think. And I think I feel like I'm better at the piano than I am at the guitar. I'm not like perfect at either. I'm not technically trained in anything, but yeah, but for some reason I just always gig with my guitar.
Listen, we would love it if you could give us a little tune now. Well, what's on your mind? What would you like to play for us today?
Oh, do you want something from the album or something not on the album?
Whatever mood you're in right now, Nyah. Whatever mood you're in.
I'm into the Trumpet Song, which is the last song on my album. Yeah, and that is the one that I wrote completely by myself. And I wrote it in my basement, which was like my basement room at the time in the house that I lived. And I don't remember why I wrote it. I was just sitting on my floor and I wrote the song.
Why the Trumpet Song?
You will find out.
Let's go for it.
It's a surprise.
Go for it.
You're just a shadow away. My eyes slowly open and I'm barely awake, but I'll pay no mind to the questions in my mind. They never stay after all. So why don't we go someplace? Why don't you show me what you're feeling inside? I wanna run, I wanna run away someday. No, you may find time ain't a worry or a thought. No, I lost my mind many times, but I hoped you've forgotten. And in these moments of peace, you move so effortlessly. They never stay. No, I have to hold. So now, why don't we go someplace? No. Why don't you show me what you're feeling inside? I wanna run, I wanna run away someday. No, you may find.
And that's why it's called the Trumpet Song.
Yeah.
That was absolutely beautiful. No,
Thank
absolutely
you.
beautiful. Tell me, what made you go down the soulful route as opposed to the more common and fashionable R&B route of music at the moment? And why did you decide to go down the route of the more melodious, harmonious route which you've gone down?
I just love a good song that's just like voice and acoustic guitar or voice and acoustic piano or voice and a whirly or something like that, or voice and a Rhodes. I just kind of, that's always what I've been drawn to. I do love listening to R&B and stuff, but that's kind of what I just love writing to. And most of the time, once I write a song with just an acoustic instrument, I don't really want to add a lot to it because I just think it's so pure and I just don't want to ruin it. But I would be willing to venture out into the more R&B, but yeah, right now I just like being soulful.
Well, listen, where you are now just suits me fine. That's all I can say. It's like a cool summer breeze, really. It's just really refreshing, really lovely. So what's next for you after the 13-track honey-coloured album? Have you got any more singles come off the album?
I do actually have some new music coming out. I've been writing a bunch. I was able to do a couple sessions before the newest lockdown, which was nice. So I'm kind of just writing, and I'm planning going down to LA pretty soon, doing some more writing. Yeah, maybe a new project, maybe kind of, I mean, that stage where like I think most artists are, where it's like you don't know if you want to do your sophomore album or if you want to do an EP or if you just want to do singles and stuff, but you're just writing a bunch and producing a bunch of songs.
What do you see as the difference between an EP and an album?
I guess the amount of songs on it. Yeah,
I don't know. Seriously, I mean, I get music sent to me every day, and sometimes it's called an EP and it's got 8 or 9 or 10 tracks on it. Other times I get a new album and it's got 9 or 8 or 7 tracks on it. Yeah, so I've decided that whatever the artist wants to call it, I'm going with it. But I'm not quite sure if before it used to start off it seemed to be that it was EPs were shorter. But
I think so. Yeah.
I promise you, I've got EPs sitting in my catalogue waiting for me to listen to, which have got 12, 13 and 14 tracks on.
Crazy.
So I'm thinking, well, is it the way that the project is promoted? I don't know. Just thought I'd ask that question. Okay. So you reckon maybe an EP, but how did you find the honey-coloured album was received, both here and in the States?
Really well. Really a crazy experience to release an album, to be honest, because I think I'm pretty... fairly new, obviously, and never released an album or anything. And I released one single beforehand, but it's so crazy just like working a year and a half on one thing, and then one day you wake up and it's just out, and all of your friends and family can listen to it, and I have people texting me and everything, and I have more and more people that I'm meeting and stuff. So it's just crazy, yeah.
And I love him. Yes, I do.
Hopefully something new.
Yeah.
Before Christmas, would you say before Christmas we're going to hear something new from you?
I think right after Christmas, to be honest.
Okay, so we're looking at New Year 2021.
Yeah.
We're hoping for. That should be fantastic. And before then, what are you going to do for Christmas? You're going to be spending it in London or going back home, or?
I'm going back home, which should be nice. Yeah.
When was the last time you were there?
Early September.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So you must miss it. You must miss
Yeah, I miss family. Yeah.
Yeah, especially with all this COVID stuff going on. You really must wish you were there.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Nyah, all I can say is thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Just for coming onto the podcast and allowing us to get to know a little bit more about you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
What's your intention, Nyah? Where do you want to be? Let's say if I said to you, Nyah Grace, where would you like to be in 2 years' time? Where would you like us to see you?
Career-wise, or just like...
No, career-wise, with your music.
Another album out, definitely. I think I could do another body work by then, and experimenting more and doing a lot more collaborations, hopefully. Yeah.
That's interesting. So who do you feel you might like you might like to collaborate with?
Oh,
you must have a little short list there.
I do.
Well, tell me.
I would love to do like an acoustic song with her. She's one of my favorites. I would love to write with her as well. Mac Ayres is more like a neo soul. I would love to do a song with him. Yeah. I
honestly expect you to say Nora Jones or Kareem Bailey Ray.
I would actually love to do both of them as well.
Honestly, I can imagine you doing a duet with either of those two. Yeah, and it sounded really sweet.
Maybe all three of us. That'd be great.
Oh wow. I think we're pushing things slightly, but who knows? Who knows? We've got to put it out there because you never know what will come back and who might be listening to this podcast. Listen, it's been fantastic talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for just sharing a little bit of your time, and hopefully we'll speak again when you bring something new out. I'd love to get back with you again, just to hear you playing live as well as hearing your new music.
No, thank you for having me. It's been so much fun.
Stuck with no better place to go now. Stuck with no better place to go.
Well, that's all for today. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Cross the Tracks. Join me again soon for our next journey. Don't forget to follow or subscribe to the show on your favourite podcast platforms, whether that be on Apple Tunes, Spotify, Amazon or Google. And please remember to follow WBSS Media on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook and Instagram to get info on the latest episodes as soon as they are released. Stay curious.